Hey everybody, today's video is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in Patreon, the link is in my description. Hello. So today I'm going to be doing a first impressions. So yeah, it's very unusual that all of a sudden in the middle of the week I have no makeup on and we're talking about a makeup item. Well, that's because when I filmed Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday's video, I was getting ready for a doctor's appointment and everything, and I literally had, and whenever I mean literally, I literally had no sleep in my system at all. I was just dealing with some audio issues. So I have my microphone sitting right here because typically my microphone is actually up here above me, pointing down at me, but my cable decided to no longer work. So the struggles of being a YouTuber, something else I have to replace. Yay. Anyways, so we're going to be reviewing the Jaclyn Hill Palette. Okay, so obviously when this came out, it was like all the rage. Everybody wanted to know about it. Everybody wanted to add their opinions because, of course, drama channels being on YouTube and stuff like that, and of course Jaclyn Hill being a YouTuber, one of the original YouTubers that's been on the platform for a very, very long time. Needless to say, this right here was going to be incredibly reviewed and criticized to the highest, I guess, because of how people think about stuff. I don't even know anymore, okay? So anyways, so basically, I know that Jaclyn has already come out with the, if I remember correctly, the Vault collection. It's like 3 or 4 other eyeshadow palettes with like at least 15 shades, if I remember correctly. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But anyways, so yeah. While I was at Ulta, I remembered that Morphe is now selling at Ulta. And so I was like, please tell me, do they have the Jaclyn Hill palette? So as I was looking around, of course it was the day of my birthday, and I was looking around, and the person that both me and Jay happened to be with, which is Jasmine, we were looking around and I saw this and I was like, it was kind of like almost as if like Heavenly had saw the Holy Grail for the first time, because it was like a coveted product that you hear so much about and you see a lot of, especially Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Like, I mean, you see it on almost every single platform. Everybody's talking about it one way or another and everything, and everybody's using it in somehow, some form. So basically it was just kind of like that thing. So when I first saw this, my first impressions of it was the packaging. The packaging of it is absolutely gorgeous. I do love the fact that she kind of revamped it a little bit. She added all of the colors and the shades on the back end of the palette. That I think is very clever, especially if you are a content creator like myself or anybody else on the platform. When you are using this and you are trying to say what shade that you are using, you can simply hold it up and look at the back to figure out which item that you are using. I think that is clever and everything. However, if you have a reading hindrance like I do, you would know that that's not going to help me very much. So usually what I've been doing here recently is I'll say, you know, first roll, third one down, or third roll, third one down, and everything. I don't know if that helps anybody and everything, but also too, I've gone out of my way to do as best as I can to help anybody whenever it comes to seeing what shade that I'm using. I even went as far as adding another camera to the studio so that way you guys could get a closer up of what I'm doing as well as a closer up of the product, and of course it makes it easier for me on editing, and moving equipment around and stuff, because it's the logistics of it is incredibly difficult if I were to explain it to you all. Anyways, so now, however, I did notice and everything that this this palette right here in particular, the price point on this is incredibly way different than any of the other palettes. Okay, so for the price of this being 38, I think 38.95 or something like that. But anyways, $38. So my two other Morphe palettes, which are literally right there, those three other ones are back there. Well, there's two other ones that are back there that I got on Morphe for $44. So basically, for the price that I paid for this, $38, which came up to, with tax, about 40 bucks and something, I basically got one of those palettes back there for only $4. So, because typically most of the Morphe palettes online are typically $20 to $25, like, you know, depending on which one that you get. They do have a pair of palettes on there that are like 12 bucks, especially at Ulta, for the, I think the 15 pan ones, that are like really tiny. But, however, opening this and seeing the shades, if you are not somebody that owns this, I tell you right now, if you have an Ulta in your area, I suggest that you go out and you look at the shades in person. Online, the shades do not look like they do in person. Like, my thing is, like, when I usually buy eyeshadow palettes, the number one shade that I always try to find in an eyeshadow palette is a really dark emerald green, right? And this palette has that right there. Like, that shade right there is gorgeous, and it's perfect. It's the exact shade that I'm been looking for. However, I don't know how it performs because I haven't used it yet. Now, here's my thing. This right here is a first impression, so I'm not going to give like a full rundown, like review of like the formula and stuff like that. However, I do know that when Jaclyn was talking about this palette and how she was making it, that the pans are pressed differently. So each individual eyeshadow is pressed differently than its counterpart. So basically, like this shade right here can be pressed a little bit harder than the other shade next to it. I did notice my very first try of this right here palette, which was this past Monday's video, just using this shade right here for highlight, this shade right here for contour, contour of the crease of the eye to add depth, and this shade right here to make it a little bit darker underneath on the eye, and then using this right here shade on the actual lid to kind of cut the crease. And what other shade did I use? It was this one right here to kind of blend that together. Using just those shades, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, just 5 shades alone, I could tell that the pigment and how each shadow performs is differently. So, and as well, with just the palette being fresh and not even been touched as much, I can see the impression patterns of the impressions, like the machine that presses the powders in. So I would definitely say that each pan is probably pressed differently. The one way that you can tell that the pans are pressed differently is if you look at it from the side, and if you can see a less or more amount of the side of the metal pan that the shadow is sitting in, that means that it's been pressed either harder or less than. So, but other than that, I think the palette is gorgeous. I think the shadow range in this is definitely, I would say definitely different compared to what I have seen. I do think that, I think that it's worth it, but I want to give it more tries. However, if I were to rank this from a 1 to a 10, just on the appearance alone, the packaging, and how I've noticed that only 5 shades so far perform, and not having much experience with it, I would still probably give it a 7.5. However, I'm sure that once I start using it a little bit more, and that I will probably most likely grow to love this palette, just like any of the other Morphe palettes. The only reason why I haven't gotten my hands on it yet so far is because I think my thing is, though, is I love Jaclyn, but she's that kind of person that kind of rubs me the wrong way in a sense. But I love her though, and everything, because she's amazing to her subscribers. She's amazing to her fans. She's, from what my experience with her is that she's honest and she's straightforward and everything. It's her spasticness and her personality that kind of just like drives me and my anxiety like way over the roof, because I'm a down to earth, I'm a chill person. But other than that, back to the makeup. Other than that, I think that this right here is definitely worth it. I do, however, look forward to giving this more tries, but in the meantime, I do have other things that I'm going to be diving into. I'm going to be diving into the Divine Palette by Kat Von D, and a few other items. I do have one other Morphe item that is going to be coming in the mail here pretty soon, as well as I'm going to be reviewing some of the Morphe brushes. I've never laid hands on a Morphe brush until this past Monday, when I tried this right here brush, and that right there is the Morphe M441. I do love it. I just want to see how the rest of them perform. The only thing that I find so crazy is that these brushes, unlike any other brush that I have, the bristles like to stain, and when you wash these brushes, their hairs become like sparse. It's almost as if like, has anybody ever seen like how when hair is over bleached, it has that like weird, like every hair at the very end is like going each and every other direction. That's kind of how it looks. But other than that, it's really, really soft. The way that the brush is designed for an eye blender, it's amazing. But I want to review the rest of the brushes. So other than that, and everything, as far as the Jaclyn Hill palette goes, I'm going to be using it more, and then after that, once I'm done doing like maybe a couple of more tutorials on it, I'm going to do some swatches, do some okay, so other than that, I don't know why my camera stopped recording, but anyways, if you liked today's video, please make sure to like, subscribe, become a part of the Angel Group of the Angel Army, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!
What you said is spinning in my head, I just wanna pull you closer.